Good evening and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Robert Hagan, and hopefully things are working correctly.
I think they're working a little bit better than they were last week.
Well, maybe.
Give or take a little
We'll
bit.
see.
So
Mine is saying having technical issues on my side, so don't jinx us.
I won't. But hey, it's a great day. It's
What is
great.
happening
We're having basketball. What's going on?
Nothing is loading on my screen, so I'm going to reload mine.
No, I was to say mine was a little laggy. Ball.
There you go.
Watch Vegas.
Can they hear us now on the internet?
Hopefully so. So
anybody out there on the interwebs can hear us? Does it work? That's the question.
How was yours? You hosted.
It was busy. It was pretty good. Yeah, we had the family in town, and my sister and her husband and the three kids were up, and so all the kids had a lot of fun. And actually, it went off pretty smoothly. I think just no one died, so that's a win for me. I think, right?
Yeah. I agree with that. And there you go. You're on and off the screen. Yeah. So it was.
I'm on and off the screen. I'm on my screen here.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I think the internet around here might be causing some issues tonight.
Oh, I don't know what's happening. Again, if anyone's listening, Haley's messaging me that she can hear us, so that's a positive.
Well, my wife would just say, nope, that's a good thing. Let's just move on. That's.
Well, if they can hear me, they can hear you, because that's what we're going through here. Maybe that'll give me an idea of doing background music in a little bit. Well, we'll test it some more. We're still learning, and then of course everything we test this out last week or 2 weeks ago,
right?
And it doesn't go our way.
Nope.
But we kind of figured out what we did wrong after the show, which was don't plug in anything else after you do a test, because that'll just mess up everything.
Well, we've got good signs now. As our buddy Mike Tacto, he says, I can hear you and I can see you. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. As long as Mike can see us.
Yeah, Haley's saying it's a little glitchy, but good. I'm blaming that on the internet because everything else is running well. It is really cool now that we are able to connect the radio setup with the streaming setup, and it's all with one button. That's all I care about. If the internet doesn't want to play nice, then the internet doesn't want to play nice, and then we'll have to figure out how to hardwire into the internet from here. And that's the next step.
Yeah, there you go.
But like I said, so we tested this out 2 weeks ago, and then last week we weren't going to be on the radio anyways. We were going to be online, but I can't read a schedule and forgot I had a basketball game to call. So then we ended up just taking the week off, which was nice. And now here we are coming back after the Thanksgiving break, and now we're going to get all these technical issues solved, right? No. So here's our schedule for December, because it gets messy.
Oh, it gets totally messy.
So we're obviously live here for the 60th episode.
Can you believe that? 60. This was a project, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
You and I started talking about this project.
And they haven't kicked us off the air yet.
I guess that's a good thing. They're
not listening. That's probably the positive is no one's listening.
I heard the radio on downstairs when I went downstairs. Everybody was eating downstairs.
Well, that was because we had the young Russian student. What's her name? Svetva.
Yeah, she plays.
She's
some
very,
great
very
music.
sweet, very, very nice. She is on before us, and she plays some music from over there. I already feel old enough trying to figure out what the new people listen, like the young people listen to. I'm already old. What is this noise? But then you listen to that, and they're like, I don't know what's happening.
Listen, don't get me started on old, because today I had to go to I had to take the day off, go to the doctor, and they basically told me I'm old. I gotta go and start having hearing tests.
And already we
stuff.
got Eric Watkins on our Facebook page, which, by the way, you can comment to us on our R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. Eric saying, how about those New England Revolution? I don't know what that is. I know what the New Year's Revolution was. That was a WWE pay-per-view.
Yep, I remember that.
Back about 15 years ago. I'm going to guess that's a soccer team, like an MLS team, maybe.
Do they play soccer in the United States?
They play something similar to soccer.
Oh, okay.
They play MLS. Kevin is online as well. Kevin, I was surprised to see you after what the Huskies did this weekend.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Oh, boy. Eric says I'm correct, so we're already on a roll there. I've lost complete. We're 8 minutes into the show. I've lost track of what I was saying 7 times. But
we're old.
So here it is. So we're on the air normal this week. Next week, because of scheduling changes with Lewis and Bingo basketball, I am now doing both girls and boys basketball next Tuesday. So we will do the show live on Wednesday next week, and it'll be online only because there is another show going on here in the studio on Wednesday, and we're not going to try to bump people.
I don't think they'd like us coming in and bumping them.
He might like a guest. I mean, that's fine. But his radio show or his sports show is usually on Mondays. He does rock stuff on Wednesday, which we'd have fun on that too. But so we will be on next week on Wednesday. The following week, we will also be on Wednesday because then Robert has Clarkston games. So basketball is starting to interrupt some things. And then we'll be back on Tuesday the week before Christmas. And then the week that comes up after the Christmas break is the Vista tournament. And I'll let you know when we finally see a schedule as far as what we're going to do. But
that'll get interesting. You and I might be able to do some live promos from that because I'll probably be here all day. It's normally what happens.
We'll make it up.
We'll get it there
as we go. But first, let's get into the scheduled show. I love how we always say we have a jam-packed show. I still have a 10-minute segment because we always segment out our shows.
Right.
There's still a 10-minute segment that's absolutely blank on our show page. It's been that way for 2 months, and we've never run into the issue of we've run out of things to talk about.
That's when we have Watkins come on and him tell us a little bit about something.
Those 10 minutes we still haven't gotten to this. Let's get back and catch up. But we have a jam-packed show. The penultimate college football playoff rankings came out today. We'll let Robert rant about those. LCSC basketball getting into full swing. Basketball in the high school level, kicking things off. The girls have already gotten going for most places. The boys start today, which I go down to the Tribune after this, and there's like 16 games that are going to be played today that I have to wait phone calls from. Wrestling starts this weekend. Talked to a couple wrestling coaches today. They're all very, very excited about that. Usually baseball takes forever for the bunch of signings. So we got a lot there. We are going to have Al Summerfield, LCSC men's basketball player.
You mean Al?
Yeah.
Al's like 6'7", 6'7".
I forget what it is. We will have him on the show at the top of next hour. And of course, your hockey. And we actually, Eric, if you're going to stick around the whole show, I do have a soccer segment on the sports that don't get enough airtime today. You will be proud of me for putting it in. But first, let's get into the NFL and let's get into Homer headlines. And Robert, your team was on prime time. I don't think Lamar Jackson realized he was playing.
I don't think so either. But, they were in their blacks. They're all black uniforms. They even painted the end zones black, totally blacked out the stadium. It was a great game defensively. They looked a lot better. I was really critical of their defensive backfield the last couple of weeks. They stepped up. Bowser had a great game. So did Patrick Queen. and Williams on the defensive line. Things looked a lot better defensively, but then all of a sudden Lamar forgot that you're not supposed to throw it to the guys in white, and he threw 4 interceptions, most in his career. He's already got 12 on the season, so don't knock the idea. He's still at the bottom of the MVP race. We still got 6.
Stop it!
Listen, we got 6 more weeks. He can turn it around. He's still in the discussion. I know you didn't agree with my one that I posted last week about who I think is the right now, just because Derrick Henry is not there.
Robert Hagan, the man that says everyone needs to shut up about Lamar Jackson being the MVP, and then he's the only one that talks about Lamar Jackson even being in an MVP race.
No. He's in the talk.
Of what? The MVP on the team?
No.
He's not even in that talk? Cool.
You're killing me.
You're killing me. Stop it.
No, he's got to clean up his game. He knows he made 4 big errors throwing that ball the way he did. The defense for the Browns able to just take things up, but they've got to get they shared up their defense. They played a lot better defensively. I think they need to run the ball, not depend on Lamar so much. So
what is your headline? If you were working for a newspaper or magazine and you had to put a headline on this game, what is your homer headline?
All right. I hate to say it. INTs keep Browns in the game.
It's true. It's very, very true. It's a good headline.
It is, but we still got the dub. That's all that matters. Got a dub. We're leading the I can't believe I'm saying it. We're leading the AFC right now. We're number 1.
You're keeping everyone away from New England being the top seed. So thank you for winning on Sunday night. If the Ravens would have lost that game, New England would be your number 1 seed in the AFC at the moment.
Who would have figured? I mean, you and I talked earlier in the year. Who would have figured Mac Jones would have that team up where they were at?
I had him in the playoffs. I did. It's just I had them as the 7th seed, not possibly winning the division and being the top seed. All right, for my homer headline, New York Jets obviously playing the Houston Texans and getting no respect out of the picks. Robert over here picked against my New York Jets, and so many people in our bowling league picked against the New York Jets and the returning Zach Wilson, and probably for good reason. My homer headline is baby steps. Did Zach Wilson play well? Absolutely not. I liked his second and third quarter where they kind of went more run game, went more to that quick pass that we saw Mike White do. I was so mad, and I messaged you at one point because it looked like he had re-injured himself. But I was so mad in the first quarter because the Jets, their drives were run the ball up the middle, run the ball up the middle, and then 3rd and 8, let's do a play action pass so Zach Wilson can turn around and see 3 defenders in his face. And that's going to go great for a rookie quarterback that has looked flustered in every game that he's played and hasn't played in 4 weeks. That's fantastic play calling.
But he has added to his blooper reel for the New York Jets. The New York Jets blooper reel is getting larger.
And it's not even Wilson's fault. Was it a bad decision? It's Ty Coleman who's looking right at him, and the moment his arm moves forward to toss on the ball, he turns around to block, which I understand for Coleman as well, because it's just bad timing because he's believing Wilson's going to run and he's going to block for him. And Wilson should have kept it, but obviously he's like, I'm going to give it to the guy that's supposed to run the ball.
Which one's worse, that one or the butt fumble?
Nothing's going to ever beat the butt fumble. Even though the butt fumble got erased with the butt interception that the Jets had last year, but no one wants to talk about that butt play. They just want to talk about the one, which, by the way, I love that it was a Thanksgiving moment.
You're making me cry already.
Every Thanksgiving, I have to relive the butt fumble. I'm trying to be happy over here. The Jets won a game. The defense.
I'm happy. You got me in tears.
The defense allowed less than 40 yards in the second half, which when they were giving up over 450 for the last 3 weeks, that was really, really nice to see. I mean, it's the Texans, but still baby steps for the Jets. And the other homer headline, thank you, Seattle.
No, come on.
We'll get there.
I'm not even going to acknowledge Kevin's comment. No, they're not even anywhere close. I don't understand.
I'll put it on the screen.
No, I don't understand.
For the radio listeners, Kevin will let posted Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson are in a tightly contested race for biggest disappointment of the season.
No. Russell's way when I carved out a little bit of time. We're going to talk just strictly that, but
Well, I was going to make a comment, but that was a kickoff comment that does not go well on a college radio show. So Eric, remind me to message you later about the comment that popped into my head over you bringing up the butt fumble having a better ring to it. All right, let's get into some other NFL news. And you look at the games that were played this week. What did you think of Thanksgiving? So you had the Bears barely beating the Lions. You had a great game between the Raiders, the Cowboys, and the refs in the middle. And then Buffalo just steamrolling New Orleans, who, unfortunately for them, have just, what is it? It was 6 starters that they were missing on offense going into this game.
Yep.
Including, obviously, Winston's out for the year. Kamara's missed the last couple weeks. It's been rough for that team. But for a Thanksgiving slate, how did you feel about it?
For me, I watched pretty much all of them. I controlled the TV. I didn't let the kids watch any of their stuff on it. Everybody was there at the house. We watched for the most part of it. I think it was Thanksgiving. So guess what? I felt bad for Dan Campbell again. One more time, have the lead, then Chicago kicks a field goal and wins the game. I felt so bad.
I have a believe it or not about Detroit. I thought they were pretty good. I thought the Raiders-Cowboys game was entertaining. The refs did kind of take over that game. Mm-hmm. What was the stat that I heard? It was the first time in over 18 years that both teams had double-digit penalties, and the penalty was over 300 yards, and it was brutal. But the Raiders do come away with a big win there. Interesting note that is now back-to-back years that all 3 road teams won in Thanksgiving.
That one blows me away.
Home team on Thursday night works on everything except for when turkey is involved.
So listen, here's what you're saying. 28 penalties were accepted.
Right. That's a good term. Accepted.
For 276 yards.
So it wasn't even 300. So yeah, there's over
close
200.
enough.
I forget what the exact stat was.
Both of them had 14 penalties. The Cowboys 166 yards.
Crazy.
Let's think about something like that and how 2 teams were playing quite well, and just to have the officials just kind of take it over, it just didn't seem right.
All right, I just want a one-liner from you for some of these other games before we move on. How impressed are you with the Bengals crushing the Steelers 41-10?
Joe Burrows. That's all I'm going to say. Joe Burrows.
What about Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon had a good game too. We'll get into him here in a few minutes, but Joe Burrow just took control of that game. So I like what he did there, and yeah, just Joe Burrow. He wanted one-liner. There you go, one-liner, Joe Burrow.
Which was a more surprising win, the Dolphins beating the Panthers by 23 or the Patriots beating the Titans by 23?
As much as I was pulling for Carolina, I think that one, the Dolphins coming back and winning that one, that Carolina now is in such a mixed turmoil. And in my power ranking notes last night, I wrote the idea about, it's time to see what PJ Walker can do. I really do. I think now that McCaffrey's
Cam had such a bad day.
And Cam had a bad day, but now I feel bad for McCaffrey. As much as he looked like a stud at Stanford and what he was doing at the college ranks,
just can't stay healthy lately.
18 games he's missed in 2 years. That was the number that they threw out. 18 games. That's just nuts. And so I kind of feel bad for Carolina, but tip your hat. Let Miami get the win there.
Yeah, that defense has really turned around. And the last one, real quick, are the Denver Broncos the most boring, decent team you've seen in the last 20 years?
I think so. They pissed me off because I took them in my loser pool, and they ended up winning.
You just look at them on paper and you watch them play, and you just go, they're not that good of a team. And then they go out there with the Chargers, beat them 28-13. I don't get it.
I think Herbert looked worse than what Denver looked good.
That's very possible. But the defense can play a part of that as well. Some other NFL news. Urban Meyer has said that he will not leave to go to a college team. Do you believe him?
No. No, I think he'll run out of something and he'll end up running back to a college team here pretty soon.
Injury notes. You already talked about Christian McCaffrey out for the season with his ankle, just crazy. Dalvin Cook left with a shoulder injury. They're hoping he's going to be back, maybe miss a week or two. DeAndre Swift left on Thursday with a shoulder. I haven't seen an update on him. Same with Ezekiel Elliott. He may not play on Thursday. We'll get more into Dallas when we get that prediction. I saw Kevin's comment. We'll bring it up at that point. Daniel Jones with a neck injury is considered week to week. He will not play this week. Mike Glennon will start for the Giants. And Aaron Rodgers, considering having toe surgery, he decided not to have it during his bye week, but after his bye week, he's going to consider having what? I don't understand. Either get it done now or just suck it up and get it done in February. And by the way, that is all the foot Aaron Rodgers talk I want to make. And I'm glad we didn't have the show last week with him going, here, I'm going to show you my foot that I don't have COVID toe, which I don't even know what that is. But apparently he doesn't have it. So.
Supposedly that doctor's office that you're talking about is right across the street from the field and their practice facility and all that. Why is he not going and getting it done now, going into the bye? It just makes absolutely no sense.
It's mayor to FSU.
And then, and how about the kicker for Washington?
Yeah. Ripped his uniform and injured himself.
Trying to make a play on the only big offense. Well, only big play from Seattle.
Well, until the last minute,
blocking that field goal to run it back, and then the kicker for Washington. Now he's out for 3 weeks at least.
Yeah, it actually kept Seattle in the game because they would have kicked the field goal and went up by 2 scores without a field goal kicker. Riverboat Ron had to go for it and looked like they scored, but. They say not even does he not score, he doesn't catch the ball, and then Seattle give credit to Russell Wilson on that last drive to go down and have a chance to tie it up. And speaking of the Seahawks, they do lose that really back and forth Monday night game. Like not impressive score wise, just 17-15, but it was a good back and forth game. If you like defense,
it was okay. I mean. I think the biggest thing for me was everything has become predictable with that team.
Explain.
So, I mean, they run the same. It looks like the same play design running one way, whether it's whoever's in there for Seattle. They don't make any guys in a motion to set up blockers. Yeah, it just does. It just looks very vanilla. I mean, there's nothing that makes it interesting to watch in that run game, and then you're wanting Russell to cook. Yeah, and everybody says, let Russell cook, let Russell do it. Well, he didn't even look at his two best guys, but 4 times all night. I'm sorry, you cannot win a game
because obviously as a defense, that's all you have to do is put 2 guys on both of them. And say, let anyone else beat us, and no one else can.
You throw the ball 1 time to Metcalf for 13 yards, and that was in the 4th quarter during that one drive where they went down the field. Then you get Lockett. He had 3 to Lockett. It's just, Lockett had 3 big plays, so the one big one, but he ended up with 96 yards. But Metcalf, you've got to get that guy involved if you want to get there. And it starts with the coaching staff. And I've heard this all day long, and I in some of our feeds and watching stuff, and they have to do something. Whether it's an offensive coordinator change, if it's a defensive coordinator change.
So what do you do? If you are the owner of the Seattle Seahawks, so you're firing everyone.
I'm firing everybody.
Are you keeping Russell Wilson?
I would finish him out. The only thing I saw a comment last night that said, okay, let's go ahead and clear him out, see if we can get somebody in like a Ryan Tannehill, to just a mediocre guy to try to build around and get something to happen. He just, I don't know. Russell just doesn't look like himself. I'm wondering if he can, like I said, I think he came back a little too early. I said that 2 weeks ago. I think they were bringing him back way too early. So it'll be interesting. But
oh my goodness,
they're just too predictable, I think, to do that.
My my thing is completely messed up. So John Bruni's comment might stay there the whole rest of the show. I can't take it back off.
I see Kevin's up there, and
all right,
we'll
cool.
get to Kevin's here in a little bit. So,
well, I can't take him off the screen. Maybe my thing will update. Who knows what's happening? Everything is going wrong with the internet today because something has to go wrong, and we figured out the audio apparently. So something else has to go. For me, I'm the same way. I think I get rid of the entire coaching staff. They've been there a long time,
right?
And it's not working anymore.
Sorry, that means Pete Carroll too. Pete,
yeah,
you got to go.
Absolutely. Back.
Randy's back.
We're back.
Back and forth. Looking at Russell's contract, this is what's left. He's got 2 more years worth roughly $41 million. So he's got 19 coming next year, 22 the year after. Why not just make a move with him too?
Yeah, I think you gotta, especially without having any first round pick this year.
Sorry, Seattle, it's time to reboot.
It is time, and I don't feel bad about it at all. I feel very, very happy about it. I'm having so much fun with 2 top 5 picks right now.
I still can't believe. Where do you think you go with those first 5 picks?
I don't care. Anywhere. Cornerback and wide receiver. Give me the top of each of those.
So with that being said, and we laughed about, and I laughed about it every time I see it, and you post about it. Adams has not lived up anywhere close to.
He was never going to.
And I don't.
As a safety, you're never going to change a defense. He had an interception on Monday.
He had a couple of good tackles, but that was.
But before we move on, and once again, we're running long on our football talk, but as a Baltimore Raven fan, would you have felt like Ed Reed was worth 2 first-round picks? And I'm not saying Jamal Adams is Ed Reed by any means.
Oh, no. I don't know if he was worth 2 first round, maybe a first and a third.
And I believe Jamal Adams, even though I absolutely loved him with the Jets, and I love his energy, he's no Ed Reed.
Right.
So I thought it was shocking that the Jets got 2 first-round picks for him, along with a replacement for him. So far, the Jets have used it for Vera Tucker, who has been a decent offensive lineman so far. And then right now, a top 5 pick next year, which is just shocking to me that it's even possible. But there you go. We're going to have some fun with it. And we'll be talking about it every week until the season's over, and we'll see where everything lands. All right, let's move on to Randy's Believe It or Not. And I'm going to attempt to do something cool. Let's see how this goes. Let me know on the StreamYard if that is too loud or not. But we're going to do some primetime music. Get everybody into it. All right. Ready for your first Believe It or Not of this week?
Sure. And then we'll attack John's question here.
Oh, we have a John question?
Well, he just says move Adams to linebacker.
No.
I don't
he's
think
a
so.
safety. He's a safety.
I don't think so. He stays there.
All right.
Hit me with your best shot. There we go.
Believe it or not, Kansas City will be the number 1 seed in the AFC when all things are said and done.
No, Baltimore's there right now. That's it. The end of the season. Period. Dot. Here we go.
Beautiful. They all say it's fine.
I don't think Kansas City has what it's got this year to be that number one.
What are you talking about?
I think it's going to come down to an AFC North team, or
they're one game behind you right now.
Or, I hate saying this, New England.
Yeah, it could be New England. Looking at the Chiefs' schedule, which Robert loves to do, you get the Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, Broncos left.
They got a great chance to get
4-2.
4-2.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good enough for the top seed. But yes, I will say Kansas City will end up with the number one seed in the AFC. Believe it or not, the Indianapolis Colts will end up winning the AFC South.
If they keep playing the way they are and Jonathan Taylor stays healthy, yes.
I agree. I brought this up weeks ago when Henry went down, and then Tennessee ended up winning multiple games and really messing up my idea. But here they are. They're still 2 games back, but Tennessee does not look like what Tennessee was without Derrick Henry. And now they lose A.J. Brown for at least a few weeks. It's getting ugly. How about this one? The Washington football team, who have won all 3 of their games since the bye week, they will make the playoffs in the NFC.
They are in the hunt right now. What are they, 5-6?
5-6.
They're what, number 8, I think, in the pick?
They are actually the last playoff spot right now.
Right now they are number 7. I think they sneak in. They're a wild card. They're going to sneak in.
How crazy is that? Be 2-6, and now here you are, just 3 weeks later, and you're a wild card in the NFC. Let's go. Where's my next one? Here's a fun one. Bring up their schedule in a minute. Believe it or not, the Detroit Lions will win more than 1 game this season. They're over so far.
I feel so bad for Dan Campbell. They were so close against the Bears. They've been so close on a couple of them, and it just melts out of their hands.
Their last 3 games, Detroit has lost by a combined 5 points. They had the tie. They lost to Cleveland 13-10, and they lost to the Bears 16-14.
All right, you know me. I looked at the schedule. I'm making a bold position.
Gonna bring it up.
They win 1 game.
Just 1. That's not enough.
Tell me who they win against.
Seattle.
Yes, sir. It is time to rebuild Seattle.
So Detroit gets the Vikings. They go to Mile High to face Denver. They do get Arizona. Then they're at Atlanta, at Seattle. Both of those winnable games.
Oh, yeah.
And then they play Green Bay the last week, and Green Bay could be sitting everybody. So I'm saying, I believe it. Detroit will still end up winning more than 1 game this season. And the last, believe it or not, my Super Bowl prediction that we made in the preseason that I gave up on in the power rankings. But my prediction of Buffalo versus San Francisco is possible again.
Listening to Ben Levitt talk about his 49ers, he's like, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I'm like, I don't know, man. And now they've won their last 3, so it's just interesting. So
I only had San Francisco as a 7th seed. They're the 6th seed right now. Mm-hmm. They're playing above expectations. I did think it was going to be Trey Lance that really got them going, but that run game, it's built for December. So I do believe it, and I'm loving it. And that is Randy's Believe It or Not. You're listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCC 88.9 FM Lewiston. It's currently 52 degrees outside. Also check us out on the R&R Sports Report on Facebook and YouTube, and you can comment to us just like Kevin and John and Eric have been doing, and just join in the conversation and have fun with us and make us talk about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for 20 minutes like Kevin did a couple weeks ago. And he still brings it up from time to time like he did earlier in the show. Where'd it go? There's the comment. And it just takes over the show. And now it is a question we ask every guest. So thank you, Kevin, for that.
I think Al's going to get used to it here pretty soon, too. Here at KLCZ 88.9, we're always looking for new student DJs to help keep us on the airways, filled with new music, original talk radio, and news, and even sports radio, like yours truly and Randy. If you ever wanted to have your own show and are studying here at LCS, we can get you on the air. Just stop by our office in the Student Union building, pick up a volunteer DJ application, or send it to an email to KLCZ station manager at lcmail.lcsc.edu to get started.
That was fun having the background music. I got into that. So we'll have to try to mess around with that a little bit more.
It's nice that we've finally getting through, so we don't have to have the extra sound, so we can just run it through the board.
I need 4 other arms right now, but we'll make it work.
We'll just have to. Maybe we're going to get to that point where we're going to have a producer sitting there. And
anybody wants to produce 2 idiots on the radio. What was the email that you have to?
Yeah, LC. No, man. Yeah, it'll be.
All right, let's get into our NFL Week 12 awards. For me, it's Leonard Fournette. Absolutely fantastic. I put it on the Power Rankings, which you can check out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook page. That usually, when Tampa Bay is down by less than a score, you just assume Tom Brady is going to drive his team down and win the game. Well, Tampa Bay did drive down and win the game, but it was all Leonard Fournette. As he goes 17 carries for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns, added 7 catches for 31 yards and another touchdown. And what I love about Fournette is just hearing the players talk about him in the locker room, starting to be a big role player. Remember how Jacksonville just cut him because he was such a nuisance and was immature and just wasn't fitting? Again, you just get into that Tom Brady world, and all of a sudden you get into the system, and I'm proud of him, and I'm very happy that Fournette is maturing and like basically growing up underneath Brady.
I don't want to give all the praise to Brady, though. There's just something about playing for Bruce Arians too. I mean, you hear the guys talking about playing for Bruce. I think that a lot is with him too. I think you have to give it to the coaching staff, and especially Bruce, getting him the ball, letting him run. Do I feel bad for Jones? Yeah, Jones was, there for a while. Jones was the featured back, and I mean, you looked at him a couple of years ago. He was the main guy to draft and everything, and now Fournette, like you said, has just matured, and I think it's being around. Honestly, it is partially Brady, but I think a little bit more towards Bruce Arians, though.
I don't know. New England has done that with a lot of players, and we all gave it to Belichick, but I don't know. Brady's just that kind of guy, I guess. How about your player of the week?
As much as I kept saying Joe Burrows a little bit ago, I'm going to go finally with the running back, because there was a lot better quarterbacks this last week than Burrows, but I'm going to give it to Joe Mixon. 28 carries, 165 yards. 2 touchdowns, almost averaging right at 6 yards a touch. I mean, that's just crazy good against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it'll be interesting what that ball club does here in the next couple of weeks, as Baltimore gets ready to go into Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yeah, he's had a very, very, very good season, especially the last couple of weeks. Faced them in fantasy, but luckily the rest of my opponent's team was really, really bad. I was able to win. Game of the week. We were talking about it earlier. The refs really kind of took over this game, but the Raiders Cowboys was very entertaining, and was that perfect game to watch after eating Thanksgiving dinner. It actually kept me awake. I never fell asleep, which usually I will fall asleep during the middle game.
Well, that's normally when we eat. So about halftime is when we normally fix our plates. So it was kind of nice. Yeah, we were quite involved with that one. The morning game was already over by the time everything, but yeah, I think that's a good one too. So. For me, it was a back and forth game between give me Tampa Bay and Indianapolis.
That's good.
It was back and forth, and they were into it until Fournette got his 4th touchdown of the day with 30 seconds left,
right in there,
and to seal the deal for Tampa Bay. And so that one was also entertaining.
All right, let's look at week 13. I can't believe it's already week 13.
And I typoed it when we were talking about. I was putting things on our loser pool stuff last night. And I typed it, and I was like, 5 weeks. Oh, no. I don't want to get rid of it that fast. 6 weeks to go. I mean, we're hitting the 1st of December, and we're
almost there. We got to start thinking like Pro Bowl stuff in our bowling league, and it's insane. But week 13 game to watch for me, it's 2 teams that are right on that precipice of making the playoffs. We just talked about one of them. The Washington football team at the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams in the playoff hunt right now. Washington right now, that last playoff spot, Las Vegas, and that crazy 4-way mush that is the AFC West. We all expect Kansas City to run away with the division, but the other 3 teams are right there for wild card spots. So I think that one has the most intrigue for me, only because you took the game of the week.
I think I did. Well, I guess the early bird gets the worm. So, it's such an up and down year so for Buffalo and what they've done, and now New England has put themselves where they're the second seed right now in the AFC. I think that one by far will be the best game. I believe it's the Sunday night game. So it'll be interesting watching that while we bowl. But Mac Jones and Josh Allen, it'll be a good game.
Weekly pick'ems. I had won 3 straight weeks, but only gained 3 games on you. You do get one of them back with your 10-5 week. I went 9-6. So you extend the lead back out to a 9-game cushion. You're 63-1 or 64% correct. I'm at 107, 72-1 or 59%. I'm happy with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd be happy at 59%, but
you've been on fire. Let's go to our Thursday night prediction. Dallas Cowboys at the New Orleans Saints. And I got to scroll up because Kevin brought up the point I wanted to bring up. Dallas without their head coach and 6 other assistants due to COVID protocols. So they will all be missing the game on Thursday. Does that change the way you feel about this game?
I would say no, because I think they have been on such a roll in how they do it. They just ran into Las Vegas this last week and that game run over by referees. So I think they still control it. Yes, we're going against the idea of Thursday night team. Well, your idea of Thursday night game.
Yeah. Home team on Thursday.
I think Dallas still goes into New Orleans and handles business.
So, yeah, I'm a believer in home team on Thursday night, even though I'm sure the stats prove it's like 50% or whatever. But that's just the belief I go in. But unfortunately, that's usually because it's a short week. It's not a short week for these two teams, as the NFL has done a great job of taking 2 of the 6 teams that play on the Thanksgiving and then having them play again on Thursday. So it's a full week. Yeah. I was very tempted still to take New Orleans because of the coaching situations, and it does look like at least Latavius Murray will play, maybe Kamara will play, and Elliott might not play for Dallas, but I will take the Cowboys as well.
Well, I think, and it's going to come down to New Orleans got to get off the schneid. I mean, I don't think Simeon's the guy. I mean, they've got to figure something out.
Yeah, the quarterback issue is the big one.
They're one of the 4 winless teams in November. I think they start December off winless too.
Yeah, I love that message that you sent me. The no-win November. It's great.
Well, yeah. You
and by the way,
the Rams on there. You got Detroit. You got the Saints, and
the old Seattle Seahawks.
I'm going to get so many messages later saying, "Why are you bashing on our Seahawks?" Well, good thing Corey didn't come in,
Quinn,
because Corey was going to come in tonight.
I was hoping,
and that probably would have been interesting.
We'll have to get him on soon. We've been talking about it. We got to do it. All right, let's get into some local sports, and we had one champion crowned, right?
We did. We had one champion. If you didn't watch it or didn't listen to the game, you missed out. I watched it on NFHS, and congratulations to Zane Hobart and the Kendrick Tigers taking home the 1A Division II state title here and knocking off Cary 30-24 there a couple of weeks ago. Kendrick just looked unbelievable with that run game. Yeah, it's 8-man, but it's so fun watching 8-man and what these guys can do. Freshman Sawyer Hewitt had the ball 15 times, carried it 15 times for 101 yards. Also had 3 catches for 61 yards. Also the sophomore quarterback, and I'm going to butcher his last name because I can never remember if it's Hop, Koepp. And if anybody knows, let me know. He's a Kendrick, but 153 yards, 2 touchdowns throwing. Also had 33 yards rushing, and he also had 2 rushing touchdowns. So he accounted for all 4 of the scores for Kendrick, but their defense looked great. 8-man to stop Cary, who was one of the state finalists last year, and just hold them to some big 4th down key moments. So congrats to a friend of ours, Mr. Hobart. Well, I'll be seeing him probably in a couple of weeks, but congrats to him and Kendrick. We look across the state and going into this one. This one was tough for us to swallow. Our buddy Richie, his son plays for Pomeroy. Pomeroy picks up their first loss of the season. They lose in the championship game to the quarterfinals game against Nacelle, and I think looks like a basketball score. Yes, they're also 8-man, but Nacelle knocks off Pomeroy 72-42. Gwen, though, for Pomeroy, looked unbelievable. 317 yards rushing with 4 touchdowns.
He's had such a great year.
And I think the biggest part of it was looking as Pomeroy rushed for 365 yards, Nacelle rushed for 391 yards. So it's all about the rushing game in 8-man sports. So got to have a good defense to stop the run.
Like we said, basketball getting started. The Idaho Girls have played the last couple of weeks. For Lewiston, they are now 2-3 on the year. They had the 2 games down in Boise that they struggled with. Then they were able to win the next 2. They do lose to Lake City last Tuesday, which is why we were not on the air last week. They lose that one 65-50. And some schedule changes for you, which has messed up my whole week. But their scheduled game for Friday that was supposed to be at home against Moscow has been moved to January 10th. And it'll now be a doubleheader. Both girls and boys will play. But the cool part is it's going to now be at the new University of Idaho Stadium.
Do you get to go up and do that one up there?
I have heard from McVay that they're thinking so. So awesome. We will see. There's no official word yet, but I'm going to keep bugging him for the next month because I want to call those games. Even though we only call home games, I want to call those ones.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to go up to.
And then, so their game on Friday is canceled. And then they're supposed to play Monday against Pullman at home. But because of the different protocols between Washington and Idaho, it's supposed to be girls at home against Pullman and then the boys on the road against Pullman on Tuesday. But they decided not to go up to Pullman on Tuesday. So now Pullman will come to Lewiston and they'll do a doubleheader, girls and boys, on Tuesday night instead of splitting them up Monday and Tuesday. So the next Lewiston Bengals home games will be Tuesday night, which is why our show will be on Wednesday night and be online only. Girls will be at 5:30, boys at 7. The boys open their season this Friday at Bora and then on Saturday at Boise. And they will get that season kicked off. And Clarkston also having schedule problems, sir.
Yeah, as of this morning, I got a text from my coach, Justin Jones, texted me, and it was a very short, sweet, and said, boys game canceled or postponed. They're trying to make it up, but postponed tonight against Lewis and Clark. I also found out a little bit later that the Friday matchup against Freeman is also postponed because of COVID protocol. We'll keep you informed with that. I haven't heard many more details, but the girls are opening their season tonight. And I was just looking at my phone a minute ago as we were back and forth. Right now, the Bantams girls went up to Lewis and Clark to play Lewis and Clark Tigers. They are leading right now with 1:25 left to go in the third quarter. They're up 45-29. It should be a great season. Kendall Wallace comes back. Her cousin comes, who's a freshman, is going to be joining the party. You've got Alyssa Whittle, Maggie Ogden making it, and also senior Erica Pickett, who today signed her letter of intent to play for Azusa Pacific starting next year. So
where is that at?
It's in California, Southern California.
Why would anyone want to play in beautiful, sunny California rather than cold, boring
Listen, I have a teacher whose daughter doesn't do anything other than she does her studies. Really, she doesn't play a lot of sports. She didn't go down on a sports thing. She did play soccer, and she did a little track, but she's not going down to do any of that. She's going down to Pepperdine, and he's went down twice now. Keeps sending me these pictures of gorgeous Pepperdine looking out at the ocean. I'm like, Mark, you got to quit doing that. I mean,
he's not going to stop.
I know.
All right, let's look at some LCSC now. As the men's basketball team went 2-1 on their road trip. They're now 7-1 on the year, 1-0 in conference. They beat Walla Walla 95-73. And then in the Corbin Classic, they first beat Portland Bible College 84-23 and then did suffer their first defeat of the year in a 76-64 loss to Ottawa University of Arizona. They will play 2 home games this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Northwest comes to town on Friday. That game will tip off at 7:30, and then Saturday they will take on Evergreen State at 5 p.m. Both obviously Cascade Conference games. LCSC women still undefeated on the year, 6-0 so far, 1-0 in conference after they beat Walla Walla 61-50. And then they went into the William Jessup tournament, beating the host team 65-60. And then in a score that just blows my mind, they beat Pacific Union College 113-39. After all their first 5 games were so close, that one was the opposite. So congratulations to those women, and congratulations to Maddie Holm for being named Cascade Conference Player of the Week. So see what happens when you come on the show and we're all just friends, and then you do well.
Yeah, I agree, Eric Watkin. What if Pepper and I only kept football? It would have been interesting. Been really interesting. Play football on the beach.
There you go.
I mean, that's the only thing we
Beach
did
football. I like it.
There you go. New sport.
All right, Kevin, plug your ears, but WSU football did dominate the Apple Cup. I picked Washington just to try to be different and try to catch you.
Should you play their... I think
I'm not going to play the fight song.
Oh, come on.
I'm absolutely not going to play the fight song. They don't deserve it. I'm not going to do it.
They won.
They did. 40-13
dominated.
I don't even think it was even that close.
It wasn't.
Just a great game for the Cougars.
Mhm.
Obviously, they finished 7-5 on the year, 6-3 in conference. They were hoping Oregon State could beat Oregon so they could make the Pac-12 championship game, which would have been the most awkward way to make just for how WSU started and how drama-filled their whole season was. If they could have snuck into the Pac-12 championship game somehow, would have been pretty interesting. Thank you for picking my team. Thank you for ruining my record. It's just horrible. And their coach is now set. Jake Dickert, right?
Yep.
It went from interim to not interim for the Cougars, so congratulations to him. Eastern Washington knocked off Northern Iowa 19-9 in the first round of the FCS championship, which a tournament in college football. Say it ain't so, but it's not an Eastern Washington kind of score, is it?
No, it's far from that. I mean, 19-9. That just didn't seem, and it wasn't Eric Berrier type either. Eric had only 283 yards passing, for a guy who's been averaging right at 400 every week. So it'll be interesting. But I think the tough thing for me is knowing they're going into Grizz country next week. This Friday, this Friday, I think it is Friday night. They go into Montana for round 2, so it'll be interesting to see how
I might even watch that game because it's not on the red turf.
No, it's in Montana, but it's on ESPN Plus. So if you have ESPN Plus, that's where you'll find it. That is a 6 p.m. tip time or kickoff time because it is over there in Montana.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into some college football news. We're down to 2 undefeated teams, Georgia and Cincinnati, after I'm blanking on that team's name. Have them in our picks. Where did it go? UTSA. There we go. I was blanking on it for a second. UTSA lost their first game of the year. So we are down to 2. Both of them currently in the playoffs right now. One completely locked in. The other one hanging on for dear life. Oklahoma quarterback Spencer Rattler is going to go into the transfer portal after he got benched for a freshman quarterback, and that did not go well for Oklahoma at all. I don't think he looked very good in their last game. Alabama holds off Auburn in 4 overtimes in the Iron Bowl, 24-22, when it looked like they were just completely shut down for most of that game. You hate to give them credit, but give credit to the Crimson Tide for making a great comeback and winning that game.
That was a great game comeback. And the biggest thing, that was the first overtime against in an Iron Bowl.
That's insane. And then they had to do it in the worst overtime rules of all time.
Yeah, pretty much so.
So Kevin had asked, what about the UW new coach? We will get that with all of the coaching changes that have already happened. Lincoln Riley says after his game, I am not leaving Oklahoma. And then the next day left Oklahoma for USC.
Like hours after the game.
It was, no, because it was like the students were breaking it. He's like, no, they're absolutely wrong. And then a big news source got it. And he's like, all right. But not only did Lincoln Riley leave Oklahoma, the 5-star recruit quarterback Malachi Nelson He decommitted to Oklahoma and will follow Riley to USC. He was the number 2 quarterback in 2023, which I am grossed out that we have recruit rankings for 2 years from now. Do we have recruit rankings for 8th graders right now? Probably. And it's gross. And I don't like it. And let the kids play for a little bit.
Let them have fun and let them play a little bit. It just
It
doesn't
makes me
sense.
feel gross that high schools recruit players at this point. But you do have Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame to go to LSU. You have Brent Pry go to Virginia Tech. So Sonny Dykes goes to TCU. We get Kalen DeBoer from Fresno State going to Washington. What do you think of that move?
Who?
Oh. A guy that won a couple games.
Who wants to follow Washington? I mean, unless you're from Federal Way and maybe he knows a little bit more about Huskies. We'll ask him here in a few minutes, but it'll be interesting. I don't know. You're leaving Fresno. You're leaving one of the smaller schools, coming now into a big Pac-12.
It's a big move for him.
Jump. So I hope DeBoer can pull it off, but it'll be interesting.
Wouldn't you leave for $9 million a year? No, I would stay on this radio show for nothing. That's not true. Give me the money. Absolutely.
Show me the money, right?
And then lastly, they did do the penultimate college football playoff rankings. Your top 4, Georgia, Michigan, still Alabama 3, and Cincinnati holding on to the 4th spot just ahead of Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. As a Cincinnati follower, you've been
I love
campaigning for this team for 2 seasons. Since we started this show, you have been all about the Bearcats.
Yeah, Ritter has just looked that good.
Are you worried that if Cincinnati only wins by a little bit against Houston and Oklahoma State dominates against Baylor and say Alabama, obviously Alabama would have to beat Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worried about Cincinnati getting jumped?
I think they do get jumped. It'll come down to it'll come down to if Oklahoma just throttles Baylor, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes because I think Baylor has a very good chance of winning this game against Oklahoma State, especially the way that Oklahoma State came off of their win against Oklahoma the other night. But I've been on Ritter. I mean, Ritter is a great quarterback. He is going to be a next level quarterback, and I just like the way he plays. I love the coaching staff, what they do there in Cincinnati. I just feel because it's a mid-major team, they're not going to get the looks. I mean, even though they're still undefeated like Georgia, they're going to be.
Are you going to be sad when the Cincinnati head coach leaves for Notre Dame?
It'll be interesting. What are you laughing at? Come on. Gee, he's already know. Yeah. Man, Al, we're going to have words here in a minute, sir.
Don't spoil who we have on the show, even though we've talked about it three times already in the first hour.
I don't know if he leaves Cincinnati or not to go to Notre Dame. It'll be an interesting move if he does. So,
all right, you are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston. Also follow us on Facebook and YouTube at R&R Sports Report and come join in on the conversation as we introduce our guest, LCSC basketball player Al Summerfield. Al, welcome to the craziness.
Thanks, Brad.
It is crazy. You kind of cracked a smile with Cincinnati. You think Coach goes and signs with goes to Notre Dame?
If they don't make the playoff, he for sure leaves. I was more surprised that LSU wanted Brian Kelly. That didn't make any sense.
That was baffling to me too. I was just like, what? Why would he want to go down south, go down and play down in Baton Rouge?
Because you can get 5-star recruits in the SEC. It's plain and simple.
Well, what's going to happen with Lincoln Riley? I mean, Lincoln Riley, he was able to draft wherever he wanted to out of Oklahoma, but now USC focuses on just primarily Southern California teams. I mean, it's going to be interesting how that all pans out.
We got to get Al on a different microphone. I think this one is the one that's only on mono, but we'll mess with that here in a second. But we've completely, Al's over here on the side now, and you got me on a whole different rant. But I heard on the radio, is Al's mic, it's a terrible microphone, guys. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to switch Al's mic.
Okay.
But I heard on the radio on the way down here that Oklahoma only had one 5-star recruit since 2008. He's going to get more than one 5-star recruit every year with USC. He's already got one.
Well, yeah, one that's following him. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I just think he needs to have a little bit more of an opportunity to yeah, don't forget to turn that one off. That one's still on. It'll be, well, it sounded like it. Maybe you just bumped it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think he should have a little bit different scenario happening for him there. So
All right, Al, let's try that one.
We good?
I think so.
No.
I think we're okay. I'll keep bumping it up, but at least I'm getting multiple bars from you this time. So that's better than the one I was getting. All right. So Al, welcome into the crazy crying about college football. But let's talk about your team. Obviously off to a pretty good start last game, but how do you feel about the season so far?
It's going good. It's getting into conference now, so things are definitely ramping up even more. And I really love playing for this team. It's a very talented group of guys, probably most talented I played on, and really enjoyed it.
You were talking about the most talented team. You've bounced around a little bit. You played for Alaska Fairbanks. Was it just 1 year down there?
I was there for 2 years, but we only got 1 year to play due to COVID. They canceled the season. It's really unfortunate.
And then you played a couple of years at Green River College.
Yeah, it was a junior college in the NWAC. It's like the Washington and Oregon Junior College region. Yeah.
What I was very impressed with looking at your profile on lcwarriors.com, you were the Green River Male Athlete of the Year both years you were down there, and just in the 2 years you're the all-time leader in 3-pointers down there. You just don't want to stay there and just create this giant legacy down there. And
well, I mean, I had to leave after 2 years, and I guess when I got there, I never set out to get that record. And I think, me winning the Male Athlete of the Year has more to say about, Green River it's not the best athletics place. It's definitely on up. It's my home. That is a home, and it's definitely on the up and up. But I really enjoyed that place. And I grew up like 15 minutes from there, and I had never been there until I walked until I went to an open gym, and it became my second home.
crazy to think about. Looking at your profile and everything, and you and I have had, well, even Randy, we've had an opportunity to work with you doing volleyball games, you doing stat stuff and running and all that, and you're working towards your graduate for sports coaching. What interests you into going that direction? Was there something that really just stands out that says, I want to coach the rest of my life?
It is definitely a possibility. I would say, well, first off, when I left high school, I didn't play basketball for a year because I thought I wanted to do this. And I still do want to do this. I want to be in the sports media business. But then the urge to play basketball came back. So that happened, and now we're here. And that the sport coaching thing, that just helps me, work towards a master's, and it's good to have a master's and just for whatever I end up doing. But staying involved in sports and the certificate that LC has now definitely is going to help a lot of athletes, I think. And I'm like one of the first students to go through it. So I've been a little guinea pig, and it's a good program. And it's been helpful for, getting an extra year to play.
yeah, you see, just like Al, I came to LC like coming here for sports media and then decided I wanted to go back into basketball, but my body went, no, absolutely not. Don't do that.
Well, one thing I was looking at, you are from Federal Way area, and I was kind of poking a little bit. We'll talk a little bit of Huskies here in a few minutes, but you come from Thomas Jefferson High School over there, where you were voted for a SPSL honorable mention there as a senior. So what was it like playing in a big area over there like Federal Way?
I guess coming here, I definitely see the contrast, working all our summer leagues and seeing the high schools around here. It's like, oh, okay. And being in Seattle, it's like, okay, there's definitely a difference. I know I didn't even make first team. Like there was some guys, like there's a guy in the NBA and a lot of the guys that went D1 that were in my little league. So it's funny to be like, oh, I was honorable mention and now I'm still playing. But yeah, that was a good a good little. It's a good, like, Fedgeway has a lot of hoopers, I would say. Seattle Seattle Tacoma, Fedgeway has a lot of hoopers.
Well, I would say I wouldn't blink at these stats of 10.5 points a game, almost 6 rebounds, almost 2 assists every game. I mean, now over here you would be extremely happy having those numbers in a smaller community. So I mean, great numbers for you for a high school career.
Yeah, I guess. I would say I've had a better college career than a high school career, if I'm being honest. I don't know how many people can say that, and I don't think that's a bragging thing. It happened, and I think the year off really helped me and set my mind right. And yeah, I'm really glad I came back after not playing for a year.
And how do you feel you've been reacclimating yourself with basketball coming back after you're working on your major and now coming to LC? How has everything been working for you here?
It was definitely weird not having games for a year because of COVID. So, it's all of a sudden, okay, things matter again. Like, things are official. You're not just practicing aimlessly in Fairbanks, Alaska. You are in the heat of a season playing for a ranked team and a team that has a really good history. So it's all of a sudden, okay, things matter again. You got to be on top of your game. It was an adjustment.
So what brought you to LC?
I mean, they're a good team, good coaches, good history. I know I'd never played for like a program like that, whether it was high school or junior college or AAU, or when I was in, like, Fairbanks isn't known for basketball. So I'd never played for a program like that, and I wanted to see what it was like. And they had obviously had a lot of recent success. So that's what drew me here. And the Johnson also recruited me leaving junior college, and so that relationship was already there. So it was a easy match.
So I got to ask, because we work with her too, but what is it like working with Alicia?
She's very good at her job. She loves her job. Her job is her life, I would say. And she definitely gave me a lot of opportunities, because I think being SID is something that interests me. I really enjoy working with her. And yeah.
So tell me how hard, I go over there and I give you the roster starters after we get done, and you're taking all your notes. How hard is it to keep track of some of these? Some of them might not know. Al was one of the statisticians with Alicia for volleyball, but it's got to be tough to try to stay on top of what you're trying to mark down on your sheet all the time.
Yeah. So when I was working with her for stats, most of the time I was calling for her. So I'm saying every touch of the volleyball, and she's inputting it on a computer. So imagine every time a volleyball is touched, I need to say what's happened, like it was a set or a spike or when then the number, and then there's a whole bunch of other things. So every time a volleyball is touched, I'm saying words. So just hour and a half of repeating, and it's yeah. But it came easy. I was surprised. I actually started enjoying it. I started looking forward to it, which I didn't think I would. But after a few weekends, I was like, hey, I'm looking forward to this. This is gonna be a good night.
I mean, you and we're the same way, as we did some work, and we talked with Coach Sean Pullman about this. It was a new game for us to learn again. And from what I remember when I was in high school, how much the game has changed. I was excited to come to announce a game, because besides Sean being very vocal over on the side, but listening to the girls, and the girls having so much fun, and what they were doing in between games, it just brings a whole different environment. So how do you feel about the crowds? Is it nice to finally get students back in the stands?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that year of playing in empty arenas because we didn't have a season, so I didn't really get to experience that. But I can't imagine. Like, it's always like we're playing at GU, and that's just the complete opposite end. Like, it's packed GU. Students are there 2 hours early.
And you were the first one to score at GU for LCSC. Yeah. So how was that for the first score and first basket?
That felt really good. I can't lie. I was talking some stuff afterwards. Felt good.
Well, I had it. It was funny because I had it on my phone, because we were working an LC game, in the volleyball game, and had it here. And Alicia was trying to load it and trying to watch it. It was cool. And there goes out that first basket. There you go.
So how was that experience playing
against
Gonzaga?
It was honestly crazy. Like, it was, it was a draw of coming here as well, because they've play D1s and beat D1s. I don't know what Idaho really is, but that was crazy. 2 hours early, students are there, they're talking to you, and obviously we have John Stockton's son on our team and some other Spokane guys, so people in the crowd are saying stuff to them, and they're just there 2 hours early. And what was shocking, or not shocking, but just threw me off a little bit, was like the lights were really bright on the court. I don't know, just coming from up top, I don't know what that was, but yes, experience I'll always remember. And I really love that I, was getting buckets early on. It didn't really continue, but I'll remember the first part.
Yeah, that's all you have to do is I scored the first bucket. Well, how'd the rest of the game go? I just scored the first bucket. That's it. Did Austin have to go out and do the whole Hoosiers thing and saying that the rim is 10 feet tall here as well? And
no, he didn't do that. It was, just go out there and try to outcompete them. That was his message, and I thought we did a good job of that. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, and we're all like, I'm old. I'm 24 and I'm still playing college basketball. So I'm like, these guys are all like 18, 19. If it's a game of ages, we'd probably win. So
which is why I need to get back on the team. I dominate the ages. So you guys got 2 home games this weekend, on Friday against Northwest and Saturday against Evergreen State. What are you looking forward to between those 2 games?
Those are the 2 schools that are closest to where I'm from, so there's some of that, and I have some former teammates and friends that are part of both of those programs, so it's looking forward to matching up against them. And I know Northwest has a lot of good guards, good quick guards that we're gonna have to guard, one-on-one a lot, because they're gonna play in space and try to ISO us. So that'll be a good challenge since we're kind of a bigger team. So guarding a bunch of quick guards is something that's a challenge, but I think we've handled it pretty well so far, of using our size to our advantage and not it backfiring against us.
And then against Evergreen State, do you even know what a gooey duck is?
Something from the water. I guess just growing up around there, I've heard of it. Like, I feel like it's definitely a Seattle thing. That's like, what it is more, or at least could guess what it is more from being around there.
Never heard of what that was until they played at the volleyball game, and they gave me the nickname, and I thought it was Geoduck for 20 minutes.
Evergreen's just a weird school in general, but yeah.
I think that's the one I heard too, that they give themselves their own grades.
Yes,
it was the rumor I heard at the table.
What I've heard. I had another former team who played there, and he would say, "Yeah, like at the end of the semester, you go to the teacher and you just kind of talk about what you think your grade should be." That's all I know.
They also keep other teachers hostage and stuff. I've seen weird YouTube videos.
I don't know too much. That's what I've heard. Yeah. It's probably a difficult place to, recruit, I would say.
It's gonna be a gooey duck.
It's gonna be a gooey duck.
I think it'd be easy to recruit. You get to pick your own grade. That's it.
I don't know how easy it is to just be like A+ every time. I'm not sure, but
if you go up and say, "I scored the first basket against Gonzaga in our game," give me an A+. I think that would work out.
On the class,
right? Yeah. All right, let's get into some quick questions with you. Have some fun. First one, I got to ask you: if you could host a talk show, who would be your first guest?
Probably just Kevin Durant. I think he'll say some. He doesn't really have a filter. He's gonna let you know what he thinks, and he's always been a favorite player of mine since he was a Sonic. So yeah, probably him. That would be probably.
Would you want Kevin Durant or Kevin Durant's alter ego Twitter handles?
I mean, yeah, do I want his burner account or? I probably just him, but I mean, the burners are understandable. I can't imagine living that life and just
Right, absolutely. I'll add another question. Do you think Seattle's going to get another basketball team in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I think 10 years. I think that's the rumor, is with all them trying to make money back they lost from COVID, is they're going to add the 2 expansion teams in Vegas and Seattle. I think that's the story I'm sticking to. And now there's the new arena in Seattle that's looking pretty nice from what I've seen. I want to go see a hockey game soon.
Right.
I was hoping they'd get the Soto Arena, so you'd have the football, soccer, and then the baseball, and then the basketball all kind of in a row, but that didn't work out. But I think, Key Arena, which it's not anymore, it's still a good place to see basketball.
I know everyone's going to just assume it'll be the Sonics, but I'm rooting for the Gooey Ducks to be the new nickname of the new Seattle basketball team.
I think
they did get the Kraken, so
yeah, so why not?
I don't know. People might rather not have a team if it's going to be the Gooey Ducks. I don't know.
You're walking around with a big giant clam on your shirt. Home the Gooey Ducks.
Sure, absolutely. What is what is the household chore you dread doing the most?
So right now I live with two teammates, Kevin Baker and Nate Fromm. Cleaning our shower, I would say that's the one that we put off the most. Yeah.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Being late. I don't know what in my younger life scared me of being late, but I don't like it. It does something. It makes you feel not good.
Yeah, a bad experience with your mom from being late?
Probably that, and coaches for being late and them making sly comments at me. I think that did enough for me in my younger days to make me never want to be late. Yeah.
What is the one important skill every person should master?
Cooking. Or just some basic form of cooking. I would say.
Don't say that. My girlfriend's listening.
I didn't
Haley,
say like,
he doesn't mean it.
I didn't say
he doesn't mean it.
Extravagant. I just be able to feed yourself slightly. Nothing too.
Slightly, I can do that. I can slightly make things work.
Yeah.
So Kevin's still listening.
Yes.
So as you go into this one, you go right ahead. But this question came up like
2 months ago.
Yeah, 5 or 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago.
It's been a while. But it took over a show once, and it just has stuck. But are you a fan of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
Yes.
What is your percentage peanut butter to jelly?
I would always just say like 50-50. I'd never thought of that percentage.
Right.
But I just
neither did I until
he's gonna go back to class. These guys yesterday asked me about peanut butter and jelly.
Right. Robert and I were having a conversation. I go back to our chat, and it's like taking over the whole thing. It's like, all right, we'll just have to break into it. But it's been a lot of 50-50s, a lot of 60-40s. Nothing too crazy. Favorite sports team?
I've just always been a Seattle sports fan, so any of those. Since there's no basketball, I root for the Sixers because of Ben Simmons, but I don't know what's going on there. But I'm just kind of holding out on my allegiance to basketball teams until Ben Simmons decides what he's doing.
How about those Seattle Seahawks?
I mean, it's been a struggle.
I love it. I love every second. I'm sorry for your pain, but as a Jets fan, I love that the draft picks getting better and better every week.
That is kind of funny. It's been tough to watch Seahawks games just because Sundays can be busy with basketball stuff. But yeah, it's not good. But at least we're kind of in that mode. I don't know. My whole thing is I wanted them to get rid of Pete Carroll and hire the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Bieniemy. That's what I've been saying for a bit, and now that this is happening, maybe that's the turn it'll take. That is my hope. If that happens, I think it'll be worth it.
That's what we both said tonight. They need to just clear house. I'm sorry, but clear house and get rid of them and start over.
Yeah, Seahawks Twitter is always just crazy, so it's always fun to read. I don't really interact with it. Like I'm not a big get out and tweet my emotions. I just like to observe what other people are thinking.
All right, did they get rid of Russell Wilson? He's got 2 years left.
I don't think you do that. I think you get rid of Pete Carroll before you get rid of Russell Wilson. I think maybe Pete could have gone back to USC, but Lincoln Riley took that. I would get rid of Pete Carroll before I get rid of Russell Wilson. That would be my firm stance.
So are you a Husky fan too?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I wasn't growing up. I went to Wazoo for a year. That's what I did when I didn't play basketball for a year. And then my brother was an Oregon fan. Well, you went to the University of Oregon, so my childhood was part of that as well. So never really pledged any allegiance to the Huskies, no.
And you were over here making fun of him for 10 minutes, and he was shaking it off.
That's the closest team, so you hear a lot about it. Like all your friends are Husky fans.
Who's your favorite LCSC teacher?
I have Pete Van Mollem. I believe that's yes.
I've had his wife before, and I think I have both of them. Is it this semester or scheduled for next semester? I forget. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how his classes are. All right, I'm going to let Robert do the word association.
All right, we're going to do a little word association. I'm going to give you a name. Just tell me that 1 or 2 words that represents these folks, and we'll just fast, hard hitting. Kevin Baker.
Quiet.
Okay. Nathan Fromm.
It just has to be one word.
Oh, one or
just,
two.
You know,
it has
he's
to be.
just kind of
It has to be
to the
PG.
beat, his beat of his own drum. Beat of his own drum.
I can see that. All right, and we've had this guy on here a couple of times, Khalil Stevenson.
That's my guy.
That dude, he wants to be on here. If he could be here every Tuesday, I guarantee you he would be sitting here.
Busy, I guess, tonight.
He's just crazy busy. All right, Coach Austin Johnson.
I mean, I feel like saying smart is kind of a, but he pushes you. I'll say that. Pushes you to like meet where you should be.
Right. Yeah. Okay. How about and I'm gonna throw one in there. How about CJ? CJ was one of my past students many years ago. One of my first students I ever had. So, what about? And I called him Mr. President. What about Mr. President?
I'd say he can flip a switch. He can like joke with you 1 second, and then he's the stern coach another minute. And that's something I struggle with. So I appreciate him, and I'm amazed that he's able to do that.
There you go. How about Alicia Alexander?
Let's see. You're making me be careful with my word choices.
Nobody listens. So this is where you just drop all the dirt.
Okay.
Well, there's still a few on the live.
Shh. Don't tell him.
I mean, just she's a baseball nut is what I would. Yeah.
Yeah, but she likes the Angels, so there's issues there.
Yeah. All right. Here's the tough one. Al Summerfield.
Just a weird little guy.
There ain't nothing little about you, son. Listen.
In the grand scheme of the whole universe, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this dude, you've done everything. I come around campus, sitting in the volleyball games, just working all the time. LC just, I can see you. You're one of those guys that LC just bleeds out of.
I mean, the athletic department has given me a lot of opportunities, and so I would agree with that. Yeah, a lot of just being here a short amount of time. Like the first 2 weeks I was here, I worked the NIL World Series, a lot of hours. But yeah, just that was how I got over here. Is I said, "Oh, we'll give you some housing if you come work," and I was like, "Well, I've been looking for that, so I'll be there tomorrow." And yeah,
do we tell him that Alicia's listening?
She might. She
said, I'm pretty sure to my comment about the Angels.
I just heard my phone just vibrated, so she might have texted me about something. Yeah.
Well, I apologize for the extra work that you're going to do for the rest of the week. It's my fault. Before I let you go, quick update on the NBA. As my Knicks lose by 2, I'm used to that. But I got to ask you, who you got tonight? Suns and Warriors in a big Western Conference matchup.
Suns.
There you go. Suns right now up 22-20 with 3:46 to go. And the first, I'll be watching that once we get out of here. I'll watch the second half of that one. But any predictions as far as NBA championship, or is it still too early since nobody plays basketball till January?
I honestly, usually I kind of rattle off a little predictions idea in my head, but it hasn't happened this year. But I'll just say Warriors. And no. I take that back. Lakers, because I never go against LeBron. I've learned to not do that. But I'd say the Lakers and Lakers. I don't want to be basic and pick the Bucks or something. But Lakers, we'll go Lakers and Heat again. I don't know why. That's not a very educated guess, I would say.
That's more educated than we can do, because basketball is not one of our fortes as far as NBA goes.
I do have a 9-game lead on you, though.
Yeah, your draft picks were better than mine. But it helps that you have the Warriors and the Suns.
Yes, it does. It helps all the time.
All right, so thank you so much, Al, for hanging out with us here tonight. I'm trying to scroll back up. Friday and Saturday, the Warrior men and women will be in action as they will take on Northwest on Friday. Action will begin at 5:30 for the women. Men start at 7:30. And on Saturday against Evergreen State, women start at 3. Men start at 5. So good luck this weekend. Good luck the rest of the year. And good luck with whatever Alicia is going to make you do for the comments that I made. Because she'll get revenge somehow, I'm sure.
Sure. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. love to come back.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks,
Yeah.
Al.
Thanks,
So
Al.
that is Al Summerfield. Thank him so much for hopping on. And now let's figure out where we were. Is once again, just everything goes long. It's already 7:30 somehow.
It does. Well, let's give you a really quick update. It is a final up at Lewis and Clark. The Clarkson Bantams come away with their first victory for the girls' side, 65-40 against the Tigers. And again, great guy there.
Yeah, that was fun.
Graduate student Al Summerfield joining us here from Federal Way. Great guy. So excited about that.
All right, let's get into our picks real quick. As far as college football goes, you do have a 3-game lead on me.
And I was behind most of this one.
You were complaining about the spread, and then it turned things around. You go 3-1-1 this week. I go 1-3-1. Thanks, Washington. But we are going to change things up. We're going to do every conference championship game that is going on this weekend, and then next week we will do the Army-Navy game. Hopefully, it will mean something as far as the overall standings go. And then that'll be it for our regular season college pick'ems. We'll crown the winner after that, and then we will pick every bowl game going forward. And then we won't do that with the spread. So it'll be a little different. But we're going to do these rapid fire. And I should have put some music on, but I don't have time. Let's go right through it. Friday, you got a couple championship games. Conference USA Championship at 4 p.m. Western Kentucky, a 1-point favorite against the now beaten UTSA. I say they lose a second time. Give me Western Kentucky.
I think the one loss was a fluke. Give me UTSA. So that is our first different one.
There you go. Pac-12 Championship, 5 p.m. on Friday. Oregon versus Utah. Utah, 3-point favorite. The Utes crushed them in the first time. Is there revenge?
I don't think so. I think Utah is just the better team, and Oregon gets the national vote.
Yeah, me too. If the game had happened earlier in the year, I could see revenge, but it's just a couple weeks old. And then you get into Saturday, and so much goes on. 9 a.m., the Big 12 Championship, Baylor versus Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State, a 5.5-point favorite, trying to make it into the college playoffs. I think they get it done, and they cover the 5.5. There's Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, they're number 5 sitting there. They've got to play their best to get in. I think 5.5 is just too much, and Baylor does have some great firepower. So I'm going to take Baylor to upset there. But I'm pulling because of I think it's a needed thing for Cincinnati.
I agree. MAC Championship also at 9 a.m. Kent State, a 2.5-point favorite against Northern Illinois. They played earlier this year. Kent State won by 5. I think there was like 90 points between the two teams. It's going to be a fun game. Give me Kent State to win again.
I think Northern Illinois is going to have a little bit of fun. These guys, I think they're going to come back and win this one.
Mountain West Championship at noon. Utah State against San Diego State, who's a 6-point favorite. Give me the Aztecs of San Diego State.
That's a no-brainer.
Don't say no-brainer. Now we're going to lose by 40.
No, I like San Diego State on this one, so give me them.
Sun Belt Championship, 12:30 p.m. Appalachian State, a 3-point favorite against Louisiana. Give me App State.
Hoorah! Give me the Raging Cajuns all day long.
SEC Championship at 1 p.m. Georgia, a 6.5-point favorite against Alabama, which made me almost take Alabama because everyone in the country is rooting against the Crimson Tide, and you know that they're going to mess up the playoffs by winning this game, but I couldn't do it. Give me the Bulldogs.
Yeah, if I go against the Bulldogs this week, my cousins down south will disown me, so give me the Bulldogs.
American Championship at 1 p.m. Houston against Cincinnati. The Bearcats, a 10.5-point favorite. Are you taking your love?
It's my crush. Go ahead and say it. Cincinnati. Give me Cincinnati all day long. I think they cover the 10.5 quite easily.
I think Cincinnati wins. It's going to be closer, which will put them in harm's way as far as making the playoffs. So give me Houston with the 10.5. Big Ten Championship, 5 p.m. Michigan, a 10.5-point favorite against Iowa. Does Harbaugh blow it at the very end?
I don't think so. I think he's going to coach him through this one. As much as I dislike Jim Harbaugh, I'll stick with John Harbaugh. But I think that Michigan pulls this one out over Iowa. Iowa just seems to be slipping farther away.
And finally, I also will take Michigan. And finally, the ACC Championship, 5 p.m. Pittsburgh, a 3-point favorite against Wake Forest. Wake Forest defense is just not very good, so give me Pittsburgh.
This was my coin flip game, and I just put it in there. I'm going to take Pittsburgh, just because they're favored, but I think it could go either way.
So we have 5 picks difference, and you have a 3-game lead. So chance that I can either tie it or take the lead going into the Army-Navy game next week. Really quickly, college basketball poll, Gonzaga Duke this weekend was absolutely fantastic. I absolutely loved watching. I only got to watch the second half because we were out checking out the Christmas lights. But that was a really, really fun second half between 2 teams that I really hope uh, meet again in March.
Well, I'm going to look really here quick. Eric has already chimed in on his picks here. He says UTSA bounces back. Oregon gets revenge. Baylor with the upset.
Ooh.
I like that one right there. Kent State gets a double dip and is going to win. App State, Napier's out. Dogs exercise their demons. And Harbaugh gets the big win. Wake Forest, just because I hate Pitt. I have those feelings about certain teams too.
Right. All right, let's get into baseball news because usually, and we said this at the beginning of the show, the hot stove, nice and easy, builds up until the winter meetings. Well, we have the potential lockout as the current collective bargaining agreement ends at 11:59 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. So a lot of players were trying to sign before the potential lockout, before the new bargaining agreement gets made, because who knows what numbers get moved around. So it's been a crazy week or two as far as signings go, unless you're a New York Yankee fan, or I guess if Alicia's still listening, if you're an Angels fan, they haven't done anything either. But we'll go through real quick, and then so I'm just going to list these off, and then I want you to give me what you feel are the biggest moves so far. So Texas signs shortstop Corey Seager, 10 years, $325 million. They also get Marcus Semien, John Gray, and Cole Calhoun. The Tigers sign Javier Baez to a 6-year, $140 million contract. The Mets sign Max Scherzer to a 3-year, $130 million contract, which gives Scherzer more money per year than, the Orioles and the Pirates? Their entire teams each year, which is insane. The Mets also signed Starling Marte, Mark Canha, and Eduardo Escobar. The Seattle Mariners signed pitcher Robbie Ray, who formerly was of the Toronto Blue Jays, to a 5-year, $115 million contract. They also traded for Adam Frazier from San Diego. Toronto signs pitcher Kevin Gausman to a 5-year, $110 million contract. Atlanta signs Kirby Yates to a 2-year, $8.25 million contract. Tampa Bay signs Corey Kluber and Brooks Raley. They also get Joey Wendell from the Marlins. So right there, out of all of those that I just listed, which was a lot, which is surprising this early on in the offseason, are the biggest move so far.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that Seattle jumped out and got Robbie Ray. I figured Robbie probably would have stayed put there in Toronto, but for being a Marin fan, I'm excited about that. I'm not excited to see Corey Seager so many times and Marcus Semien more. I mean, Marcus was with the Athletics at one point, but what was it? They've thrown out over $1 billion, almost $250 million or $500 million with all of their moves that they have.
Texas,
done.
yeah, half a billion sounds about right.
It's just crazy to see what they've done. But I think the one that really stands out was Max going to the Mets. I think
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, but that's just weird. I mean, I wouldn't have thought. I understand going to a big market, but I just didn't see.
You're at the end of the career. You've won a championship. Somebody's going to offer you that much money for 3 years, and your career is coming to an end. I don't know if you can say no to that.
Yeah.
So we talked about the potential lockout. Do they reach a deal soon? I don't think they're going to reach a deal by tomorrow. Do you think spring training gets affected by the potential lockout?
I don't think so. I think they'll figure something out. I really do. I think it's going to come down to percentages of money going owners and players. So I think they finally make something happen. I don't see them wanting to hold out, especially after having finally a full year and then a half a year the year before. So I think they try to get something done. don't see it happening until after the holidays.
Mhm.
I see it maybe mid-January. They get everything figured out. But I it's like you and I talked on Sunday. Do they get the deal? I mean, I was shocked to see how many moves were starting and the grumblings of people moving quite early. I would have thought a lot of these guys would have held on to see what was going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of other teams are doing right now. Yankees being one of them. There's still a lot of fantastic free agents out there, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens after the lockout. It'll be interesting to see how many players get signed tomorrow, like right at the end before this deadline hits, and then own becomes reality, and then we just go from there. So lots week on the show again. Don't forget, next week's show will be on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and it will be online only as I have to call a couple of losing games on Tuesday, as they have done a good job to screw up
I
everything.
might come and watch because I don't think we have a game that night.
As Kevin Nolet says, Seattle wants Chris Bryant. And yeah, he's one of those players that is kind of waiting for the work stoppage. I'm still surprised Freddie Freeman has not re-signed with Atlanta. Now you're getting rumors of other teams trying to sweep in. I'm surprised Anthony Rizzo hasn't re-signed with the Yankees yet. I'm hoping he does.
I think that one he will. I think he will. I mean, why wouldn't he want to?
Speaking of a couple Yankees, just to throw those out there, Gary Sanchez does get a tenured contract, so he will stay with the Yankees. We'll see if the batting average can get above 220. Please. I'm still so sad that they got rid of Rugi. I loved Odor. He ends up signing with Baltimore, and Clint Frazier, who they also let go, who should have been traded 2 years ago. He ended up in Chicago with the Cubs. So a couple smaller moves there. So again, it's going to be really interesting. And I love the frantic moves in baseball because we usually don't get that. We get that in football and we get that in basketball where like, okay, free agency opens and then you get just the floodgates open and 80% of the top free agents sign within the first week. And baseball, it's usually kind of a trickle down effect. And then once that big name signs, then it'll start happening. But there's a lot of times where big names will still be a free agent come February. So I do like the difference there. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into our sports related draft. So 2 weeks ago, we did the players we were thankful for. And for the first time ever, we tied because it's personal. It's the first time I did not outright win. I've won every single one of these drafts.
You think that? We'll have
but
to go back
but 2 weeks ago, with the players we're thankful for, that's more of a personal deal, so I can't claim a victory on that. However, it is your turn to do the draft topic. So go ahead and announce it here. And then for anybody still listening, Kevin and Eric out there, Haley, if you're still listening or whoever's listening, we want your picks for this draft. So let us know in the comments.
There was a couple of ways I wanted to go with this. And I knew I hit a good related draft when you told me Sunday night as we were walking out of the bowling alley, I'm going to have to go home and think about this.
I'm going to have
to research this. And you went with the first one that I wanted to, but I thought about it a couple different ways. I almost wanted to change it up a little bit, not have rounds this time. I wanted to do sports and had one of each sport.
Yeah.
I decided not to. Let's just keep the rounds, because if we went one in each sport, we could have been here forever thinking about some of these guys. So what led me to this was I ended up sitting on the couch with the wife on Saturday, and we watched the match. Bryson DeChambeau against Brooks Koepka, as that took place there at the Wynn Golf Course there in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, which I'll be there in May, which we got our tickets to. So
it's not that beautiful.
I know it's just a place to go and bowl and throw money away. But I was listening to Phil and listening to Charles Barkley, and they were just kind of poking at DeChambeau and Koepka and trying to get a reaction out of him, you know. And we all know that where they're at with their relationship. They dislike each other quite well, but then you're trying to get a little oomph on it. And it made me think, let's think about the best player versus player rivalries that have ever happened.
It's a good one. It's a really good one because then you instantly start thinking individual sports, but there's some good ones in team sports as well. And it was really so. I went. I told, like you said, on Sunday night when you told me the topic, I went home and thought about it, and then I had to be strategic because, unlike you, I understand the draft format that we do, and I know, like, I had a list of 4 or 5 that I knew I wanted to use. So I didn't have to worry about that, but I just had to worry about which ones you might steal.
Because I play from here too much. I'd go with
You gotta think with your head just a little bit.
I play with my heart too much.
Unfortunately, I mean, it hasn't worked well for me on our any of our pickups, but it works very well in our sports related drafts. I'll just tell you that. So I thought about it and I was figuring out which one were you gonna steal, and I chose right because I got cussed out. In on our document after I put it, but Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, fantastic rivalry. Slightly before my time, I didn't really watch either of them in their prime, but obviously you've seen several documentaries about them. And what I love about this rivalry, it started in college between 2 great teams, and facing off in the national championships, and
MSU,
MSU and Indiana State. And not only just being great rivals in college, then going into the pros, and then it's Boston, it's LA, Celtics, Lakers, which was the perfect rivalry already. And you get these 2 players, and they weren't always friends. They became friends, especially later on, in their careers, and especially around the Dream Team time and the HIV stuff with Magic, and they became great friends after that. But just absolutely fantastic rivals, and I had to go with it. So give me Magic versus Bird.
Yeah, that was going to be my first one, and you swept in there and got that one. And as I did type in, and when I was so mad, I was like, I figured you would go like a Yankee or something like that. So for me, it backed into which other one has been very heated. I wouldn't say heated to the point of bad heated, but for me, it was Tiger and Phil. I mean, I've gotten into golf so much more over the last few years and watched it. I could sit and watch for forever, a long time. And I think they fed off of each other so much. The early 2000, even in 98, 96, 97, 98, when Tiger was winning all of his championships, I think it was just that good of a matchup. I think they made each other better. And now with Phil getting older, he's coming and not going to be playing on the tour as much, and now he's dealing with all the CBD stuff that he's doing. His reputation was a little bit different now that people are seeing. Now Tiger's hurt, and he came out and made some comments this past week about him probably never playing weekly on the tour anymore. It might be one stop, maybe every couple of months if his body can handle it. So, that tradition, that game, those guys going against each other is probably gone. But I mean, they fed off of each other, and I think they made each other better.
It's a good one, and it's definitely probably a go-to for this kind of a discussion. But I also think that was kind of just a generated rivalry because they wanted anybody to beat Tiger. Once, like, it took Phil how long to finally win a major, and then after that it was like, well, okay, so it's Tiger versus Sergio. Oh no, Sergio just can't win the big one. Okay, it's Tiger versus McIlroy. McIlroy will be the one. So, but I get it. I get that as your top pick. For me, how about 2 tennis greats of the modern era? I was so close to going Agassi Sampras.
That's where I would have went.
But you look at the stats between Federer and Nadal, it's uncomparable. They've played 40 times. 24 of those times have come in at finals. 2 of the greatest tennis players we have ever seen, and if one of them was not around, the other one would just be destroying the record book. But they're battling it out. Now you get Djokovic in there, which makes it a great 3-way battle at this point. But again, they played 40 times. Nadal leads it 24-16 overall. He leads the finals 14-10. But Federer owns him on grass courts, and he dominates on the indoor hard courts. It's just the clay, which has been Nadal's deal. Nadal has beaten Federer 14 out of 16 times on clay, which is why he holds the overall record. But it's just, for how many years was it just Nadal and Federer in tennis? And then they meet up so many different times, especially in Grand Slams. They had that one great Wimbledon, 2007 Wimbledon final, which went 5 sets, was absolutely one of my favorite matches I've ever watched. So, as much as I grew up on Agassi and Sampras, and I think that's where my mom would probably go as far as her favorite tennis rivalry, you can't go wrong with Federer and Nadal.
Yeah, the first one I thought of when I thought of tennis was actually Agassi and Chang. Also saw
if Chang was better, Chang was my boy. Yeah, he's my favorite tennis player growing up. But
I watched Agassi, and that's part of the reason why I played tennis my final year in high school. Is because, oh man, Andre Agassi was the bomb.
By the way, I've already shown that I've won this because I agree with Kevin. It's not Tiger versus Phil. The best golf rivalry is Tiger versus Tiger.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. For me, round 2, I decided to jump back into football. And
we got to speed. We both of us have to speed this up. We got 12 minutes.
I think the rivalry got better once this guy moved from Atlanta to Dallas. It made it so much better. Then they saw him so much more. But when you have the best receiver going against probably one of the better defensive backs ever played a game, so give me Rice and Sanders. There's something about the GOAT in primetime. And to listen to the stories of them chipping at each other. Dion has talked about it many times on different shows. I think when you have a team sport like that, and you guys can pair up against each other, and basically it was kind of the same thing as what Tiger and Phil did. I mean, they made each other better. They made Rice play so much better, having a guy like Dion on him to have to make sure I run a crisp route, make sure I run the post pattern exactly right, because he's going to be there to make a play on it. So I think that by far has to be the best football rivalry there.
Yeah, it was all right.
I went away from the quarterbacks. I had to.
Unfortunately, I try to go funny with mine, and Robert kibosh it, even though he breaks the rules all the time. As far as, do you remember your undefeated records picks and completely breaking all of the rules on that one? But I tried to go for the funny and go Reggie Miller versus Spike Lee, which is the greatest basketball rivalry of all time.
Spike was not a player.
Tell that to any player on the court. Spike Lee has more court time than any other NBA player.
What about Jack Nicholson?
He sits back enough where he's not standing on the court. Like Spike Lee is standing on the court.
Okay, Jay-Z. I mean, Jay-Z's right there.
No, Spike Lee has him crushed. Spike Lee was standing on the court when Jay-Z was 10.
Probably right.
So it's all Spike Lee. And there are not documentaries about Jay-Z.
I still haven't
being
watched
a fan.
that documentary yet.
All right. So that's where I wanted to go. But he did. I mean, Kevin says he never said he had to be a player. He does say it's player versus player on there. So I changed it. I went boring. But Brady versus Manning, yeah, I mean, you have to. The way they play 17 times against each other. And it's just one of them was representing the AFC in the Super Bowl for most of the 2000s. So pretty simple. Brady Manning.
And then for my last one, and it's just because this was the sport that happened in our house a lot when it was either NASCAR or we watched boxing. And so I know this one happened well before my time, before I was around, but I mean, you hear all of the things, the Thrill in Manila. Give me Ali and Frazier. I think it's probably one of the best boxing ones ever happened. So there you have it. Best athlete rivalries, player versus player.
Yeah, I go Magic and Bird, Federer and Nadal, and Brady and Manning. Robert goes Tiger and Phil, Rice and Sanders, and Ali and Frazier. Honorable mention for me for Earnhardt and Waltrip. You're bringing up NASCAR. That was another one that I had on my list. If we went more rounds, it would have definitely made
what
it.
I honestly wanted to do was I wanted to do one for each sport.
It would have been fun.
I would have done football, golf, tennis, baseball, because you could throw out DiMaggio and Ted Williams if you wanted to. I mean,
I don't know if that was much of a rivalry. They're just two very good players on two teams that had a rivalry.
All right, then let's do Clemens and Piazza then.
They had one interaction that was horrible.
Throw the bat at him.
All right, let's get into sports that don't get enough airtime because they don't get enough airtime here because everything runs long and we have 8 minutes left on the show.
Oh, we had another great guest.
Well, the guest was great, but I mean, everything else has run long too today, which is just what we do. Mm-hmm. That's just what we do on the R&R Sports Report here. 60 episodes deep and we still can't stay on track. Seattle Kraken have won 4 of their last 5, turning things around. They scored 7 goals against the Buffalo Sabres yesterday. They're no longer last in the division. They're 8-13-1. They have 17 points on the year. And you're beating me in our NBA draft. I'm crushing you in the NHL draft because my 5 teams are crushing your 5 teams.
I still don't know how the point system works.
2 points for a win, 1 point for an overtime loss.
Okay. Now I know.
0 points if you just lose. There you go. You already brought up the match and Tiger Woods, so we can skip golf. The next one, Hero World Challenge at Albany Golf Course in the Bahamas. So it sucks to be a golfer sometimes.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I promised it. I put soccer in the segment because I saw, as I'm putting notes in earlier today, FIFA Women's World Cup UEFA qualifier between England and Latvia was 20-0 in a soccer match. 20-0. 3 different players had hat tricks. Lauren May Hemp had 4 goals, and 10 different players scored in that match. Eric started this show with a comment about, what was it? The New England something. The New England Revolution. Has the New England Revolution even scored 20 goals this season?
Well, Eric just comments here. It says England 20-0, breaking England's record that has stood since 1883.
I like the comment better here that Randy crushes Robert.
No.
I wonder if Eric was typing that thinking that's exactly where I was going to go with the soccer comment. Because it's highly possible. Which is a record for any men's. It's 20 in a soccer match. Absolutely insane. And that is how soccer ends up on our show, is you have to win 20-0.
Yeah. Good game.
All right.
Gotta be a big game.
This week in sports history, sir.
This week in sports history from the 24th of November to the 30th of November, Dodgers trade away future Hall of Famer Frank Robinson to the Angels. Another one, an honorable mention here, and I'm going to throw this out there, was the big fight between Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, with Duran's his famous quote saying "No mas, no mas" when Leonard regains the WBC welterweight title. So that was another honorable mention in our player versus player. 1981, Raleigh Fingers becomes the first relief pitcher to win the AL MVP. He saved 28 games with an ERA of 1.04. Howard Cosell, probably one of the best voices we've ever had in the business, calls his last fight after being his Cobb in their bout. So he quits calling boxing there. 1984, John W. Mercom Jr. announces that the New Orleans Saints are up for sale for a mere $75 million. 1984, only $75 million. What is that worth now? That's highly questionable. What is that Saints team worth now? 2011, John Harbaugh's Baltimore Ravens beat Jim Harbaugh's San Francisco 49ers in the first game to feature 2 brothers as head coaches. And in 2015, the Golden State Warriors set the NBA record for the best start in NBA history, opening the season 16-0.
All right, stump away, sir.
Well, I can't. Here's the reason. You threw out some numbers that I was going. I went because of our draft thing. I was going with some stats from our best rivalries. And that my question was going to be, how many times had Federer and Nadal
You didn't think
met?
I was going to do
No,
my
I figured you
homework
would.
on my own picks.
And you did 40 times. And like you said, Nadal leads Federer 24-16. But, sir,
there you
you're
go.
going to get the bonus part of this question.
Hold on.
Then.
Before you get to that, to answer your question about how much New Orleans is worth now, both Eric and Nolette, really quick on the draw. Kevin puts up the 2.8 billion, and Eric tops him with a 2.83 billion.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It'll be a question. So I'm going to give you the bonus question since you got the other part of the bonus. Federer Nadal is only the second longest rivalry. What is the longest rivalry in tennis history?
Oh, Navratilova and Everett.
You're good today.
I know tennis, man.
All right. How many times did they?
More than 40.
Yes.
That's as far as I go. 48.
No.
I have no idea.
Double that.
Really?
80 times.
You got to think. Back, like, especially 80s women's tennis, it was those two.
Was that still when she was Chris Everett Lloyd, or was it Chris Everett the entire time? I know she had Lloyd in there.
Again, I was born in 84, so I wasn't watching tennis in the 80s. I've just seen a lot of historical documents, and they both played for a very, very long time.
Yep. So Martina Navratilova versus Chris Everett, 80 times. Navratilova is leading 43-37, which they'll never play again.
Either way, you did not stump me. I'll try to stump you. You put up a stat, and I just looked it up after you were telling me it was tennis. Golden State, you said, set the record for the best start, 16-0. What did that streak end at?
I would say 19.
23-0 for Golden State.
It's hard.
Crazy.
I mean, the way they don't play offense,
they
don't play defense.
Kevin says there was no Lloyd at that point.
And at that point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she did go by Chris Everett Lloyd there for a long time, did she?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I was, like I said, I was an Agassi fan and a Michael Chang fan at that time.
All right, that is going to do it for the 60th edition of the R&R Sports Report. I want to thank Al Summerfield so much for coming on, being a fantastic guest. And good luck to both the Warrior men and women this weekend in their two games. Go watch them on Friday and Saturday. Then on Tuesday, go watch some Lewiston basketball. That gym is insane. The sound in there, absolutely crazy. I absolutely love it there. And be the first boys home game on Tuesday. Don't forget next week, Wednesday, over the next 2 weeks, excuse me, we will not be in studio, so you will not be able to check out the R&R Sports Report on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston. You can only listen to us on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages, and that will be on Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. So mark that on your calendars or go follow us on Facebook. We will try to remind you multiple times throughout the week, and hopefully the internet will work better, because every time I try to touch anything, I swear something went away on my screen. I don't know how the streaming portion went. But we get the audio figured out. We get the background music, which I'm going to get more background music. We're going to have fun with it. And something else goes down. But I wanted to say, just as a quick aside, again, I said 60 episodes. So thank you guys so much for making this possible. We have over 500 followers on Facebook. I think
a few new ones this week alone, too.
So, I mean, we have over 500 likes, and the followers, which usually get more because people will just keep an eye on it, or almost like 540 or something. It's just absolutely crazy, and we absolutely love all the love and support we're getting for the show. We're having a blast, and we're going to keep expanding it and get more guests on here. We keep tweaking with the format, and we have fun with it.
I think now that we figured out the audio, we could start bringing in.
Well, I'm worried about the echo as far as that, but we'll keep messing with it. We're going to find some extra ways to make it work, but we're online only, Eric, the next 2 Wednesdays, and you don't have the kickoff right now, so we might need you. But I got to get to work. So that's Robert. I'm Randy. This is the R&R Sports Report, and we are out.